All right, welcome to this episode of Hey Gurl. I'm Bill Janisse, and I am very excited today to be joined by a really fabulous, wonderful, talent, and beautiful person. He is an artist. He is a dancer, choreographer. He's a model, supermodel. He's a photographer. He's a singer. He's a musician. He does it all. He's just a wonderful person, and I'm so happy to have him here today. This is Timo Nunez. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Yes, snap
Good.
it. I love it. I'm so glad that you're doing this. We've been talking about this for a while.
We have, like, years.
Yeah. Well, the show's only been going for a year, but sure, we've been talking about it for years.
Has it really only been a year?
I know.
That's what COVID has done to my brain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My concept of time is pretty out of whack right now, too.
It's
yeah.
very bizarre.
Yeah, it was a year, I think, about a month ago was a year for the first episode. Thank you.
Awesome.
So, listen, we have a lot to get into here. So, Timo's coming to us from LA. I'm here in Las Vegas. Got up early to record. We were just joking. We were talking about how Vegas is its own time zone. Timo was like, "Can we record in the morning?" I'm like, "Sure. How does noon sound?"
I was like,
He's
like
"That's
actual
not really
morning.
Yeah, he's like, "No, I mean like normal people morning."
Yes,
You know?
this is like our Sunday church right now.
Yes, we're having
Yes.
church today.
We are.
I love it. Well, let's just dive in. So, okay. Tell us. Okay, so wait, first of all, I know obviously you live in Los Angeles now, but where did you grow up?
Well, actually, correction, I am living in Santa Barbara.
Oh, forgive me. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I lived in Los Angeles for about 15 years. Mm-hmm. So now I'm back in Santa Barbara. I've been here since July.
Oh, nice.
I moved out of LA last January, and I was in Spain because I'm a flamenco dancer, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But I went to Spain, and I was planning to be there indefinitely. And then everything happened, and I came back in July and moved back to Santa Barbara just to like wait and see what's going on with the world. And I've been here ever since.
Right on. And you're loving it there?
I am. Yeah, it's great because it's so close to LA. So when I need to be there, I can get there. But it's also just beautiful here. I can go to the beach every day. Yeah. I've been writing a lot of music at the beach, and it's way more calm.
than like the driving beat of like Hollywood,
yeah, it's not like a 4-hour commitment if I want to go to the beach.
Right.
I can be in and out in like an hour.
You really do have to plan like your travel time meticulously when you live in Los Angeles. I mean, I only lived there for a short time. I lived there for about a year and a half at one point in my life. And I remember that being an adjustment with the way you know what I mean? And then the rest, and then I just did the same thing where, I mean, I ended up just coming back to Vegas because I was doing a show, but then it was such an easy 45-minute flight if I had to be in LA for something.
Right. Yeah.
Or like I would catch like the 6 a.m. Southwest flight to go to an audition or a call, and then I'd get. Yeah, and then I'd get back. I'd get on the 5 o'clock, coming back and to come do my show at 9 in Vegas.
Right. Now, are you from Vegas originally?
No, I grew up in Detroit, Michigan.
Ooh.
So I'm from the Midwest.
All right.
And then I lived in Chicago for a long time, and then I was a New Yorker. But I came out to Vegas to do a show, and it was funny. I never thought I would be here as long as I have.
Crazy.
I mean, it's definitely been a blessing and all good things. But when I moved here, the intention was to do the show. Mm-hmm. And I had never been to Vegas. I moved here with the job. And I remember I had even worked out a living arrangement with a roommate who I'd never met before, but that was also in the show.
Oh, nice.
The company manager like kind of connected us because she knew I was like coming from out of town, and this person had a house and they were renting a room, yada yada.
Oh, we were so young.
We're so young, yeah.
So young, such little angels in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and I remember, I think just to put it also the timeline, I'm remembering it now because I haven't talked about this in forever, but I think what it was is I actually came a little late for the contract because I was finishing a contract with a company in Chicago, and so I had to come late. Yeah, I was double booked back then, not anymore. And but the point is, what was funny is I did remember feeling like it was just such a big change. It's like, okay, I'm going to Vegas. I'm literally moving there right now. I've never been there. I don't know who I'm living with, and I literally had to go right from the airport to the theater for rehearsal. That's like, it was that. And then like with my suitcases and everything, like they sent a car, ballet sent a car to bring me to the theater.
Next club, next club, next club, next club, next. For sure.
I didn't mean to make it sound like that, but yeah, that was
so
exactly
busy.
it.
I love it.
Okay, enough about me.
I love it. No, that is what we all strive for.
Girl. And then here we are 15 years later.
Yeah. My first time in Vegas was a job as well. And it was it with Jennifer Lopez? No, it wasn't. It was
Oh, no, wait. It was... go ahead. I'll let you talk.
No, tell me my resume, honey. I want to know.
No, girl, I prepped for this interview, so I'm ready. I want you to talk. I want you to talk. Go.
No, it wasn't. It was a fun first job. I was like 20. It was for Intel. It was just like a corporate job. But I remember being really excited because I had never been there. And I, got off it was a nice job. So I landed and there was like a very nice car waiting and I was feeling very like bougie. Yeah. It's a fun thing.
We were feeling ourselves back then. Totally. I was like, yes, I'm just catching the flight to Vegas so I can do my show. And then,
Very that.
Yeah, very that. Yeah. I love it. Well, so let's talk about, first, you obviously, as I mentioned before, have a very diverse resume. And
yes. When you were listing the things, I was like, oh my God, it's so many things.
You did that, girl. You did it. Yeah, that's you, boo. But let's start with the dancing. So, flamenco dancer, obviously, as we just already talked, I'm a dancer as well, but I'd never studied that form of dance. Tell us more about that and why specifically flamenco as opposed to maybe other forms of dance.
Sure. So I started dancing when I was 7. I started with ballet. Loved ballet.
Which I think where most dancers should start with ballet.
I'm so happy I had that.
The base of dance, the base of technique. Yeah.
Absolutely. I still, pull upon that experience, even though I was so young when I started. It helps me with everything that I do. But I started flamenco when I was 8, and it was an interesting thing. It's in my blood because I come from Spanish heritage, and I was very close to my grandma when I was growing up, and she was the Spaniard. So when I was a kid, my sister and I were both children. We are a year apart. She is older than I am. She got into the classes because my grandma put her into flamenco classes.
Sure.
But I also kind of liked to do everything that she did.
Yeah.
So I went to her classes and I would sit in the back and learn all the steps and then come home and like turn on her cassette tape to tell you how old I am. We would press play and I would do all the dance moves and stuff. And so finally I just begged to be put into the classes and they said yes. And that was the beginning of it. It's funny, I was actually thinking about it today because sometimes when I go to the gym and like I've got my pre-workout on, like I take notes about little thoughts that I have. And I was thinking about a song for my grandma, and I was just kind of like in between sets, I'm like jotting down ideas and memories that I had from little things that she would say to me when I was a kid. And one of the memories that flashed into my mind was the first time I did a flamenco performance. We had it filmed and we watched it at home, and I finished my dance and I just did a simple bow. I was like 8.5 years old. I did a simple bow and then I walked off the stage, and I remembered my grandma saying to me, like with so much enthusiasm, she was like, "That's exactly how a Spaniard would bow." And I never forgot that.
Yes,
and I actually haven't said that since. Like, maybe to like
exclusive story, honey.
The tea.
Timo's giving us the tea today.
The tea with Timo. That's it. Exactly.
That should be the name of your podcast.
That should be. Ideas. No, I think I don't need to make my list any longer right now. We're capping it off.
Oh man, I really love that story. And now, I mean, I'm sure you think of that every time you bow now. Or
in a way I do. I remember what the bow looked like. It was like, most like people will like bow. It's like a big thing. And I remember I was like standing up very tall, and I just kind of like tilted my head to one direction, and I went like this.
Yes.
It was very, very like controlled for an 8-year-old. You know what I mean? I was probably a little like shy about it.
But it actually probably came off as confident, and like you're like not arrogant. You're like, I don't need the praise, but I acknowledge you. Thank you.
Thank you very
much.
Who was he? Who was this little monster?
I love that story.
Yeah. So anyways,
great.
The point of me saying that was like, that's how flamenco kind of got into me, is I had like the support of my family, and I knew how much it meant to my grandma, you know, and to my parents.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was always just something that I think I just
were your parents dancers as well, or did they
No.
I thought you said that once. Never mind. Okay, that's wrong. Never mind.
No, they weren't. No one in my family was except my sister and myself. My
Does
sister
your sister
was
still dance, or did she ever go anywhere?
The last time she danced was at her wedding, because I kind of like made her. Yeah. But no, she was a beautiful dancer. She had so much going for her. She's a lawyer now. She's a very bright young woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And so so talk to me about, so you've also already obviously worked with some really amazing people. Our viewers, you've probably seen him on So You Think You Can Dance, World of Dance. You've seen his work on Dancing with the Stars. You worked with J-Lo, Selena Gomez, Kenny Ortega. The list just goes on and on. Carlos Santana. You gotta give me, you gotta spill some tea. You gotta give me some good, give me some fun memories from that impressive resume.
Oh, thank you. It's amazing, because when I hear it out, spelled out that way, it's something I'm really, really proud of, and really grateful that I've had the opportunity to do, because I remember, being just a young person and having these ideas, but they all seemed kind of like imaginary
or
goals.
Out of reach.
I remember the first time I met Jennifer Lopez, it was like I was meeting Mickey Mouse or something. I was super starstruck. I couldn't believe it was happening, because I had created that as a very specific goal since high school.
Yeah.
And
what was she like when you first met her? What was that first interaction?
Oh my God, it was so fun.
I love it. I imagine she would be. I hear that from a lot of people. I've never had the pleasure with her specifically, but I've heard that from many people that she is very lovely, which I love hearing, because sometimes with celebrities, you hear certain things, behind the scene things that that paint a different picture. So it's always very refreshing to hear.
Yeah, for sure.
But I hear she's lovely.
No, she's wonderful. And there's so many things that I've learned from Jennifer and the experiences that I've had working with her. But the first experience was really, I kind of always tell that story because it's funny to me.
Okay, so you got to tell it. I haven't heard it.
So I get the call. So I submitted a concept for her Vegas residency. And
All I Have?
Yeah, for All I Have.
Okay.
And I didn't hear back for a few months. And then one day I got an email from my agents, and they were like, hey, so we finally heard back, and they want to see you tomorrow. And I was like, oh, right? So I'm freaking out.
Like, I'll see if I can fit it in my schedule.
Yeah, very bad. I was just you have to understand, I had created a concept when I was a senior in high school, and I was like, the only person that I want to do this is Jennifer Lopez. Wow. And then now fast forward to maybe 12 years later or something that could be wrong, but a long time, for it to be happening, that I had the opportunity to even just present the idea to her, was super surreal. So what did I do? I put the pieces all in a box, and I was like, okay, we're going to this audition, and they told me it was a private audition. It wasn't a cattle call kind of a thing. It was you're meeting with
It was an
Jennifer.
agent call. Yep.
Yeah. And I was like, oh shit. So I was prepared. for the last 15 years. I was prepared for this moment.
Right.
Right? But I do remember that when I walked in, well, first, I probably shouldn't say this, but I will. I made sure I looked fucking good.
I'm sure that was very hard for you. I'm sure that was very hard for you. Because you're very unfortunate looking, I have to tell you.
Well, I mean, like, I just, like, I definitely overthought how it was all going to go down. You know,
you have to be feeling yourself when you go into something like that. You have to know you look good. And by the way, side note, not to digress, but this ensemble you're sporting today is giving me life. I'm loving this.
I like it.
Short
tie-dye. My mom actually
combo.
just bought this for me yesterday, and I thought that I would sport it today.
It's perfect.
Thank
you. So you're looking fierce. You're walking into this audition.
Yeah. Like, and I have to say, like, it was a full thought process. I was like, you can't look too eager, but you're super fucking eager. You know, like, all the things.
Yeah,
so I opened the door.
Yeah.
Little did I know that she was in rehearsals with the show that was already being curated. And so I walk in. It's a huge room, which I did not expect. There are, like, 20 dancers in this corner rehearsing. There's the directors over here. This space is huge. But I opened that door. I had a backpack on. And I opened the door, and I remember I did, like, a full-on, like...
Yeah.
Swear to God. I'm such a dork.
You were giving her, like, that...
I was giving, like, am I in the right place?
It almost reminded me of your Breathe On Me cover. Like, when you
God.
that look, you know what I mean?
Oh, that cover. That was funny. So anyways, I literally did that. And I swear to you, upon my first glance, I see Jennifer across the room, looking amazing as always. And she's about 50 feet away from me. Okay. And when I open that door, she sees me right away. And she goes, Timo!
Oh my God.
And I was like...
how did you not just like break character
and
freak out?
No.
Yeah.
This was my audition.
I got it. Yeah, right.
This was the moment to make that first impression. So Timo was not like, yes, it's me. No, Timo was like, she was like, hi, how are you? You know, calm, collected, walked over to them, shook her hand, said it's such a, just chill.
I love it.
I don't know how I did it because inside I was dying.
Oh my God, I love that you did that. I mean, because I feel like I would have done the opposite because I'm so extra anyway. I would have been like, hey girl, like, which would have been wrong. But I
couldn't believe, like, in my brain what was happening was like, she knows your name.
Yes, she does. I love it.
That was so fun.
I love it.
That was fun.
So tell me, I love that story. So, and you've obviously worked with her a couple more times since her Vegas residency.
I feel like I've worked with her maybe 4 times.
Yeah. I love it. I love that. That's wonderful. So do you have, out of all the shows that you've done, this might be a really hard question, but so just try and think for a minute. I'll even say 3. Like, do you have like maybe like 3 of like your like career highlights as a dancer that you would like, that you look back on and you're like, you know what, I really loved that experience. I remember that so well. Because, I mean, I know I have specific moments on stage in certain shows that I'll never forget how it felt in that moment because it just went so well. You must have some things like that.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this my whole life. So it's hard to narrow it down. It really is.
So give me like any 3 that pop into your head right now that were just some really great experiences.
Okay. After my grandma passed away in 2010, I made a show for her. And I did it in Santa Barbara. I got a beautiful Spanish theater. I did major fundraising. The community, like, came out and supported my Kickstarter campaign. And, like, I was probably, like, 26 years old. So I didn't have a dime to my name. And I had this huge dream that I wanted to do this show for her. I was very close with her, and I was holding her hand when she passed away. Like, I just had a very strong connection with my grandma. And so finally the show came, the Kickstarter happened, it sold out. I have like 10 dancers, I have like 7 musicians on stage, fully costumed, original pieces made by hand. Like, it was a huge, crazy undertaking.
I love that.
I'm insane. So anyways, it happened. And the one thing that didn't happen in all that preparation was me putting time into my own dances. Okay. I was choreographing for everyone. I was overseeing everything. It was insane. And I didn't really have a committee. I had some volunteers that were amazing, but I didn't have like the way you're supposed to do it, where people are assigned jobs.
Totally. I get what you mean. Yeah, for sure.
So I'm on stage with no choreography.
Like, we're trying to produce,
Exactly. So I'm on stage with no choreography. To a sold out
theater. You just decided that you were going to improv your section or something?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's what happened.
I mean, no, but you always do. Why do we always put ourselves last? Like, sometimes, you know what I mean?
This has been something that I've been working on, and I'm starting to understand better and do better. But at the time, it was not the case. So I'm on stage with no dance, killer musicians behind me, giving me all like the support and inspiration
and the energy and everything.
And the energy. And I would say that at this moment, I felt like the most impactful, like, spiritual connection to my grandma that I had ever felt.
I love that.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I was cramping all over my body from being dehydrated. From,
Well, probably, you're probably, just overworked in a way too, because you're producing the show. Yeah. Probably not sleeping well. As you said, dehydrated. I mean, all the things. I get it.
Right. It just so happened that the piece, the song that I was dancing to was a very like intense and kind of introverted style of piece.
Okay.
So I was able to connect that way and call upon, I remember like basically I looked up into the ceiling of the theater and like I had my arms extended, and I remember just like reaching up and saying like, bitch.
What?
With all due respect, Wita, I love you, but I was like, bitch, you better give me some strength right now, because nothing is happening.
I love it.
And
did she?
And she did, yeah. It ended up, like, I remember, like I just remember touching my hands and feeling this, like, intense, like, energy. And I did this dance that I had never seen before, and it felt amazing. So I just remember the feeling more so than the steps were amazing. Sure. Like, who knows what I even did, but like that experience was one of the most memorable from my career.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh wow, I got a couple chills hearing that. Like when you said, I don't know, for me, like when you said that, when you touched her hands, and it just made me think of when you said you were holding her hand when she passed, and that kind of connected her. And that's how I felt when you told that story. And I thought that was really beautiful.
Cool. Maybe that's what it was. I had never thought of it that way, but
I thought it was really beautiful. Nice. I love that. So.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Cool.
Well, that's a good one. That's a good one. We'll take that one.
That one work?
You know what I remember?
Got all hot for that.
Ooh, girl. Yeah.
Mom's sweatshirt's coming off.
Oh my gosh, I actually just got some fans that say "Hey Girl" on them. I'm going to send you one. Not that will help you right now, but I'm going to send you a whole swag bag of stuff.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited.
Back to the topic, though, of Fabulous You. I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember, gosh, I don't know how many years ago it was at this point, but I was actually back living in New York. I'd left Vegas to go do some work in New York, and I was there for 2 years, I think from like 2016 to 2018 or something. And that was when World of Dance was coming out. And I remember, like, there was a huge, I mean, you were plastered all over that city because you were in the marketing for it, which was, and you looked fabulous, you know. I remember taking a picture on the subway, like at like 8 a.m. on like my morning grind to work. And you know that New York hustle is a whole different hustle than LA or Vegas or Chicago or Miami. It's a lot. Ooh. And I just remember, for whatever it's worth, I remember texting it to you. I sent you a picture of it, and I was like, "Oh, look, I saw this on my way to work." I don't know if you remember, and you responded, and you were very sweet. But it was at a time that I was in New York, and I was feeling very polarized and isolated because it's just such an intense city, and I hadn't lived there in so long, and I don't know why. Even though it just felt like it was a familiar face, and I loved it. You know what I mean?
That's so cool. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I mean, that's part of the beauty of what I do is, like, you can be anywhere and connect with people, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's really what I love about the arts and about performing, is connecting with people. And sometimes it's not a very complex concept or message or anything like that, but all it really takes is for someone to smile for a second, or watch for a second, or get inspired for a second, or cry for a second. It doesn't matter what it is, but it just reminds us to connect with our, human qualities and emotions. So totally. I appreciate you saying that. Thanks.
Of course. Well, thank you. I feel, and I love that you describe it that way, because I think sometimes there is, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this, but I think sometimes there can be a misconception with performing artists, especially, that it's vanity driven. And I love the way you described it, because at least for me it wasn't, and it obviously isn't for you. I can't speak on behalf of other people, but I remember saying that as well. Even as a very young performer, I was like, when people would say, what is it that what is your vision? Like, what is this journey that you're trying to create for yourself? And it was always some version of that answer. It was always, when I was younger and I wasn't that articulate, I used to say, I want to change the world. You know what I mean? Hey. Like, for the better. And eventually, when I was able to get a little bit more connected to myself as a spiritual being and be a little bit more articulate with myself, I was able to start figuring out that I was like, well, it's not necessarily changing the world. I want to change the energy that people are feeling in the world, by whatever I'm doing. If it can change their energy in a positive way, that would be just the biggest, reward for the amount of work that we put into what we do.
Right.
So
no, definitely. I mean, it's an interesting industry because, there's so many different players and characters who are involved in the arts,
Totally. So, well, let's talk about it since we're there. So let's talk about your modeling career in the fashion industry. Tell me, I mean, how did that start? I mean, that sounds like such a stupid question because obviously you're very, very attractive, but like, was it just a natural thing? Were you in working as a dancer and then it just kind of organically were getting asked to start to do modeling things, or was it more, or did you actually go out and really say, I want to, do this in addition to?
This is we'll probably have to edit this down because it's, okay. It's a long fucking story. But basically, I think it's an important thing to talk about, though, because I grew up as a person who really needed validation and needed to feel attractive or feel as or prove to other people that I was desirable or all those things, through my experience as a performer, I was getting accolades for being a good dancer, and people would tell me once in a while that I was good looking. I needed that second part to feel stronger and stronger and stronger. So what I wanted to do was prove to everyone that I could model, or not just be seen as the dancer. Like, it was this whole thing within myself that I really needed to work through. So I started, I was dating a model at the time, and I remember always feeling very, like, insecure by comparison.
Okay.
Less attractive, all those things. You know, I had a lot of like moments where I just really put myself through a lot. you know,
we are so hard on ourselves, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like, internally, yeah. But I get it.
So I started, you know, I was living in LA. I started trying to model. I would go to all of the agencies and try to do the open calls and hope that someone would sign me. And I remember I went to LA Models probably like 8 times before someone actually took my book to the back and said, give us a second, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And every time I walked in, the anxiety.
Like, outsider looking in, I would never think that you would need to go somewhere 8 times to
well,
for them
thank
to
you.
pay
but,
attention
you
to
know,
that.
it's just, you know,
and I mean that
it's
as a
a
compliment.
strange.
Just,
no, I know what you mean, and I appreciate it. But what I want is for when people to hear this, it's kind of a confusing thing because on one end, I feel like it's a testament to say, like, go for what you want to do, keep trying, don't give up, all those things. I think that there's something to be said for that. On the other hand, I also think that there is a misbalanced expectation of beauty and how we're supposed to feel validated. You know what I mean? Like, if I didn't get signed to that modeling agency, what did that say about me?
About me, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Girl,
and so
I've had all those interviews,
you know,
too, so I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's a slippery slope.
Sure.
And, you know, everything that I did, I've learned from, and I'm proud of. But as a person who's now coming out the other end of those things, I look at it differently and I understand it. And I just want, you know, I want people to be kind to themselves because, you know, sometimes it's a little bit dangerous. And luckily I survived it and I'm here and all is well, but sometimes people can't, and that's kind of a scary place to be. But going back to my process was, I basically pushed my way through to the top of that line, and finally got signed to LA Models.
Yeah,
I got signed to their more commercial division.
Okay,
which was like less editorial, less fashion. You know, that's.
So, but which is still great. But what are you trying to say? Like in your,
I was not
time?
happy. I
yes,
was like,
that's what you're getting.
That
at,
is not the division
that you
I
belonged
wanted.
in. Yeah,
yeah, in my little twisted brain. Yeah,
girl, I hear
you. But I took what I could get.
Right.
Took what I could get, and I was.
But
also
then you go home and you're so hard on yourself. Like you say everything that you just said to me out loud. You're saying to yourself, like you're like
for sure.
I can't.
But
like,
I also
great, but I can't believe I didn't do
said,
it.
yeah, and I also said to myself, one step at a time. You're happier today than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, like you're closer to what you want to do right now than you've ever been. So shut the fuck up and like be happy. You know, right. Can I cuss on this show? I don't know.
You have been. No. It's fine.
Oops. So anyways, I was also signed to the runway
fine,
division at the time. So I was like, okay, cool. Runway and some commercial print. Fine.
Perfect.
Let's do it.
You're like,
so I kept taking my pictures. Yeah, I'll take it. I kept taking my pictures, like my little fake photo shoots and my tests.
Right.
And I at the time websites were big, so I put all my pictures on my website. Yeah. I had been on So You Think You Can Dance. They called me America's Best Flamenco Dancer.
I remember that episode.
So things were kind of out on the internet about me, right?
Sure.
One day, I get a call from Steven Meisel's studio. No big deal, right?
No big deal.
No big deal.
No big deal.
No big deal. So at the time, I was in a contract with the San Francisco Opera, dancing flamenco in their show La Traviata.
Uh-huh.
And we were about to debut, and Steven Meisel's studio says, we want you to come to New York this weekend, which is in 2 days. Would you help choreograph a cover of Italian Vogue? And I was like, fuck. I was like, shit. I was like, I'm in this other contract. How am I going to get out of it?
Yeah.
But I really want to do this. And they said, there's a chance we'll throw you in some pictures too.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, let me see what I can do.
Right.
I'm in a contract right now. Let me see what I can do.
Sure. Because she was double booked, honey. Double booked. Snap it. She snapped. Yeah.
Double booked.
Double booked. I think that's going to be the name of the episode. No.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
So anyways, I talk to the people at the opera and I say, listen, this is not something I would normally ask. It's very unprofessional. But this is like, you have to understand. This opportunity is something that I've been trying to force to have happen for the last 10 years.
Sure,
Can you please find a way to let me go for 2 days to New York? And it was the same night as the final dress rehearsal.
Okay. Oh.
And I'm the principal soloist.
It's a bad time to go. Bad time to not be there. Yeah.
With the live orchestra, like the whole thing. They said no at first, and then they said yes. And then I flew to New York.
Yeah.
Shot the cover of Vogue with Isabelle Fontana, the Brazilian beauty. And they threw me in some pictures. And then they threw me in more pictures. And then on the final day of shooting, Pat McGrath brought me to the mood board and she was like, darling, you're not going to believe this, but you made the cover.
I love it. Oh my gosh.
My mind exploded. I was like, what? And then came out a couple months later.
I also love the way you tell that story and the way you did the way you did the voice and everything. I love it.
That's how she did it.
I believe it.
She's so fabulous. I'm sure you know Pat McGrath.
Yes. Oh my gosh. What an accomplishment.
Extraordinaire. Yes. It was definitely like something I'm always going to hold on to for the rest of my life. Like, and my modeling career is not something I pursued since. I did like a few months in New York. I got put on hold for a lot of stuff and then it didn't happen. But what's cool is that I feel like I've checked off that box.
Sure.
You know, I can like chill about all that now and really go back to, you know, the art that I love. And I still do editorial like photo shoots. I work with good photographers, but it's not my moneymaker. It's not what I'm trying to live off of.
Okay.
You know? Yeah.
Sure. So we're talking about checking off boxes here. We've gone through the dancing, we've got the modeling, nailed it. Let's talk about your musical career. Is that what you would say is, you know, you just said modeling isn't something you're trying to make your moneymaker off of. Is your driving passion in this moment your music? Yeah. Oh, I love it. And I could just see even just the way your face lit up when you said that. I love it. Yeah.
Thank you. There are so many ideas that are exploding out of my brain every single day. And being able to make them all happen like one step at a time is so fulfilling.
Yeah.
And it feels like something that I wish I had been doing my whole life because I've always loved to sing. Obviously, as a dancer, music drives what I do.
Sure.
And it just feels like now I'm starting to fully understand who I am as an artist and how it checks off all the boxes of dancer, singer, actor, fashion, model, like showmanship, performance, all those things. When you put them together, I really feel honestly that I'm putting together something that doesn't exist right now.
I love that.
You know, to be able to say that and to be able to believe that is such a gift. It really is. I feel really fortunate.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really exciting place to be. I think. And you know, I think when you go from a place as an artist in any medium, you know, I love the way you described, and thank you for being so open with your story, by the way, about, you know, the insecurities you had at one point and the things that you went through in your process. You know, a lot of people can definitely relate to that, but I think, and I'm pretty sure we're around the same age, so I think I can say, you know, when we were younger and we were that age, at least I don't remember that being something we were allowed to talk about that much. It was like, if you did, you were showing too much vulnerability, or you were showing weakness, some form of weakness.
Right.
Luckily, I think this younger generation has at least that part right, where they're ready to talk about it, or they're ready to be more
100%.
open and a little bit more transparent. They do some other things I don't like, but that part they do right. But
For sure. You know, I think you're totally right. And as you were just saying that, I was experiencing the same thing. This interview right now, I'm grateful to that generation for, in a sense, paving the way for me to speak the way I'm speaking right now, because I would have never done it either.
I'm honored that you're speaking to everybody and to me about all that, because some of those things I wouldn't have known about you either. I mean, I look at you and I think I'm like, he's done all this. I mean, how could you ever think, that he would have any insecurities at all? You know what I mean? Like that.
Oh shoot.
So
I do, and I have.
Yeah, but going back to what you were saying about, where you are now and learning about who you are as an artist now, because who we are now is, this is cliche as this is going to sound, isn't the type of artist we were or we were trying to be 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And, when you're young, it's just part of the process. It just comes with age and experience, I think, as long as you're open to growing. And I just think that's such a really powerful place to be. The way what you described is where you're at, I can appreciate that. And I'm excited for you. I love that.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. I mean, what they say is true, is like gathering all your life experience and learning from it, and how you deal with it is what like grows your character. I'm still working on that every single day.
Girl, me too.
It feels way better than it ever has. So that's good news.
I'm still trying to figure out who she is, meaning me. No, who I am too. So.
Yes, honey.
I'm working through it on this podcast as well daily. You know what I mean? So,
for sure.
So I can understand that. I want to talk about Lavender Skies. So love the song. It's on my playlist. Like it's on like my daily playlist. Like personally, that it's just like when I have my on shuffle and when it comes on. I mean, I really love that song. Tell me more about it. Tell me about the inspiration. Tell me, just go. I want to know all.
Okay, cool. Lavender Skies is a song that came to me while I was in Spain during the beginning of quarantine. Actually, I was living in Sevilla. I was locked up with my friend and phenomenal dancer, Marina Valiente from Spain. We were living together, and we were so restless and just like didn't have anything to do.
You can say shit.
I can say shit. I've said worse already.
No, don't worry about it.
So I had spoken to a music producer in Los Angeles named Morgan, aka Shitty Princess, and she sent me a few beats, and I was just like, okay, I picked the one that I liked, and it was amazing that I could make a song from a living room with this person across the world.
Yeah.
And so I spent the next month or so writing lyrics, and the lyrics, Lavender Skies, it's funny, like I give a lot of shout outs to my grandma, but she has really driven a lot of my career, so it's going to keep popping up.
I love it.
That's right, Rita. Anyways, she told me the first time I went to Spain, she said, do me a favor, when you get to Spain, look up. Because I remember when I used to go to Spain all the time, the skies there are different. She says, here we have blue skies. There it's different. It's like a lavender sky. And I always think of her when I look up at the skies in Spain, and they're lavender. So I had just kind of put it in my notes of songs I would write one day, and then that was the moment. So yeah. I was in Spain writing Lavender Skies, and then it came out.
Oh, wow.
September,
I love it. What was it now? And the music video is great as well. Tell me about that. Was that the one that you did? You did a couple I mean, I'm sure you're very good at fundraising and funding these things. Oof. And you actually you brought up a point. I remember a while ago when a lot of times as artists, people expect us to work for free or for less than our value. So I love that you raised enough money to actually produce a really great music video, but also pay everybody behind the scenes what they deserved.
So important to me. It really is. Fundraising is a tricky thing because who likes to ask people for money?
I hate asking. I hate it. Yeah, so I get it.
Hate it. But I also know, like, if I dream big and I want all these things to happen, like you said, the people that are involved need to get paid. So it's kind of like, it's just something I bite the bullet and do. I've done 2 in my life. Both were successful thanks to the help of so many people. Thank you, guys. But the Lavender Skies video was not one of the videos that I fundraised for. Okay. That was just a self-funded video that I flew down to Tulum and worked with an incredible photographer, cinematographer, and team down there. Yeah. So it was an awesome experience because compared to the previous video, like, there was so much less involved. The first video was like a movie.
Right. They both looked great, but
Thank you.
Okay. I love that. So are we working on a new song right now? I'm sure you're working on many. Like, what can you tell us that's coming up?
Ooh.
Are you allowed to?
I'm really excited. Yeah, man, it's all my shit.
Well, no, I know.
It's all my stuff. I'm an independent artist.
Yes.
So, and proud of it. Yes, I'm working on about 5 solid tracks right now. Okay. And I touch on each track every single day and add to it and edit and do all that stuff. But there's one that I'm particularly really excited about.
Yeah.
It cracks me up, because it's definitely different from anything that I've done. The 2 songs that I've done so far are like Latin romantic, like that vibe. Sure.
Yeah. And in that, like, you got that sultry voice in the beginning. I love it. Yeah, it's like very
sexy, whispery, like all those things.
Yeah.
Hey, yes.
I know, I love it. Let's do it. I have to actively remind myself to come out of my upper register when I'm speaking. So I always love it when people are. I like it when people are the opposite of me, when they're actually calm and focused.
Right.
I'm focused, but
this year I've
got a lot of energy.
A lot of time into my vocal training. Because I do love a sexy whispery moment, but I also like to sing. So some of the 5 are in that direction, some are in that direction, but the one that I'm talking about, but the one that I'm talking about right now is like not singing at all. It's like it's kind of like, it's gonna be like a little bit of like a dirty flamenco song. Ooh. Yeah,
help me understand that a little bit more. I don't know if
it's just
can you give me a sample? Can you
Oh, can I?
Can we?
I don't think I can. I don't think I can. But it's good. Like, it's exciting because it makes everyone want to dance. The other songs, they're like, you listen to them, you appreciate them, and this is like, you want to drop.
You want to get up and dance.
You want to go crazy and just be like dirty and nasty and like, but it's also very on theme with my flamenco and there's a little bit of footwork involved. There's a lot of like flamenco references in the words that most people won't even understand, but it all kind of ties together and makes sense.
Okay. I can't wait for that. What's it called? Do we have a name yet? Do we have a title?
I have a few options.
Okay.
Yeah. It's either going to be called Rhythm for Me or it's going to be called For Me.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Well, it'll find its way, I'm sure. As you go through, and you'll when will you? Sorry, I'm gonna.
Look, I can't stop smiling because the song makes me laugh so much. Like,
I love it
when I say this shit, because when I'm saying it, I'm like in this like this character.
Yeah, tell me, just do it. Just do like a little
like there's a lot of like talk rapping and like this voice, but it's like it's
and then you like catch yourself like even like having to take so many takes because you start laughing when you're doing it.
Totally that. But when it's on, I believe it. When it's on, totally, I'm like, who that?
Who's she? Who did that?
Like, oh.
Right. Oh, I love that. I love when you have those moments where you can actually kind of surprise yourself in a way.
Yeah.
Because I'm the same way. I mean, I'm so critical of myself in so many ways that, when I even like, so for me, like when I started doing this show, I had the hardest time. I mean, obviously I had to listen to it because I had to edit it, and I had to, totally self-produced. But I had the hardest time listening to the sound of my own voice. Like I didn't like the sound of my own voice, and then I used to get so critical too. I mean, part of it is, I'm sure you go through the same process, but part of it is constructive to yourself. When you're listening to yourself back again, and I'm like taking notes, and I'm like, okay, I think I could have said this better. I need to be more aware of this, or I need to whatever in the future. But then sometimes it's a slippery slope, because then sometimes you start criticizing yourself too much.
And it takes away the actual magic that authentically would have been present.
Yeah. So when you can get to the point that you listen and actually instead of tearing yourself apart, not because you mean to, but I think, again, I don't mean to speak in those generational terms, but I do think you and I came from that same kind of, at this point would be called old school thought of training. I guess when I hear that, I don't mean that we're old. I just meant like that it's a different strategy of training than people use now. I didn't mean
right. But I
you start
totally
tearing yourself
agree
apart.
with what you're saying.
And then, like you said, you take away from the joy or the magic of that what would have been there. So it's great that when you actually get to the point where you listen to something that you've done, and you actually you surprise yourself, and you're like, oh wait, that was good. You know what I mean? Yeah.
For sure. And that's the question I ask myself now, is like, when I'm making a song, I need to know, like, Timo, if you were at the club, would you want to dance to this? Or Timo, if you want to be sad and at home and like mopey, is this going to tug at your heartstrings? Like, you have to be honest with yourself. And if it's not doing it for me, it's not going to do it for anyone else.
Well, yeah. Well, because if you don't believe it, then you're not going to. When you're the one telling the story.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good start if you believe your own damn story, right?
That's the best advice we could give to the young to the kids.
Right?
Oh my God, I love that. All right, listen. All right, so now in honor of, obviously it's Gay Pride Month, which we love. I gotta ask. I mean, like, not to get too deep into it, because we've obviously talked about your wonderful career and a lot of the things that came with that. Do you feel with it, in honor of Pride Month? I mean, what would you say as a gay artist might have been your biggest struggle throughout that journey that would be connected to that community, or biggest triumph?
It's interesting because I'll say, let's back up a little bit. Gay artist. I have lived the majority of my adulthood identifying as a gay person. The last couple years, I feel a little bit broader in the understanding of myself and in the understanding of what I'm attracted to or all those things. So I don't really know what I'm calling it right now. I'm not in any way denying who I am. If anything, I'm expanding. Does that make sense? So I'm still like not sure what that's called, but as a queer artist, the question was, what was the biggest challenge so far?
That might have been connected to you being a member of that community, our community.
Sure. A lot of bullying as a kid. Part of the reason I quit ballet was because I was bullied so intensely, physically, emotionally, all the things. Sure. Like, it was a lot. And I think that the arts were amazing because they kind of gave me a place where I could shine and where I could succeed and where I could be praised, or, praised is a funny word, but where I could be accepted.
Yeah. It was a safe
So I'm really grateful for that.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was until it wasn't. Like, then I would go out and do a show, and kids from the school would walk by and see me on stage, and I didn't feel safe at all because they were pointing and laughing, So it was a very strange conflict that I had where I was being praised. Yeah, like I was like, is this good or is this really bad? What I'm doing? Like I'm being told it's good, and then I'm being told it's terrible. Like what's happening? So that was really, I think to this day, it's something that lives in me and that I really have to work through, and that I really have to stay conscious of, and not project those issues upon other people. And, you know, it's a fully different upbringing experience that I've had to a heteronormative situation. So, yeah, I mean, not to say that, you know, everyone has their problems, but yes, if that's the question, how has it affected me? Overcompensation, feeling like I have to prove masculinity, things like that, have definitely been involved in this entire packaging of the brand that I've created, you know? But I do things that feel really honest, and such as like sometimes I perform in a flamenco skirt, or I use props that would normally be used by women. And it's not because I'm trying to prove anything. I use those things because I like using them, and I'm good at using them, and they feel natural to use. I'm not like the poster child or the spokesperson for crossing genders, but like I'm open to participating when it feels authentic, and that's what I do.
I get it. I mean, I struggled with even, believe it or not, you know, even because it's not that the show's not that old, but I even struggled with, did I want to call this show Hey Girl? For some of those reasons, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So I get it. And it just, but again, I ultimately decided to still do it because that is me. This isn't a character I'm playing. This is how I talk to people. Even if we're not recording, this is how I talk. So
for sure. No, I think that's great. And I love that you have been true to yourself when you made that choice, you know? That's what we're here to do. We're supposed to like shed light on all the different personalities and make sure people feel safe being themselves. That's the whole point.
I really love and appreciate that it seems like right now, and especially within this age of, you know, TikTok and, so, you know, all the additional social media platforms that are coming out. I mean, these younger members of our community are so, or at least appear to be so comfortable in their skin at a younger age than that happened for me. And I love that for them. I love that there is a space, there's a space held for them, you know, even if maybe, you know, maybe not even in their own household, they're allowed to feel that way. But there is actual ways to connect with other gay people their age now that wasn't really available for me when I was younger. So I can appreciate that now. And I love that we're at that place. I mean, that's what we're always moving towards, right? And, you know, I mean, we're standing on the shoulders of the people before us. And, you know, I love that we're getting to a place that I don't even think the conversation should have to be about acceptance or tolerance. It just is, like, because it's just the norm. Yeah,
we're not. Is.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I think we're definitely getting
there.
there.
I think it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Actually, my godson just turned 11. Shout out to Koa.
Yes.
It's really wonderful to see his experience at school. You know, it's part of the normal day-to-day conversation and basic understanding of each individual in the class. What is your gender? Do you know? Do you not need to know? What name do you prefer to be called
what
by?
Pronouns and whatever,
to see him talk what pronouns and all that stuff.
I love that they're talking
and to see
about that
how
at school
he
now.
responds to it.
Yes,
yeah, they totally
need to
at least not in all schools, but in some. And I think that is changing, and it's really beautiful to see his understanding of it. He's
11. You said
he's educating us.
How old? 11.
Yeah, he's 11.
I love.
He's 11. Yeah. So like his mom will say, so what is your pronoun? And he says, oh, I you can call me he, him. He's like, but so and so has decided that he would like to be Michaela now. Perfect. You know what I mean? And he's like, get with it. You know what I mean? And we're like, yeah, okay, cool.
He's teaching us. I love
it's
that.
really great. It's
that's
awesome.
so inspiring to hear. Because that's not how I remember feeling at 11 years old.
No.
Well, and right,
not at all.
Right. And isn't it great? That's such a great moment when kids give us as adults that realization, or that clarity in such a, because some things don't have to be as complicated as as society or the media or wherever you want to put it on. Things don't always have to be so complicated. Sometimes it's just that clear. It's like, no, this is who I am, and tomorrow I may be that person.
I was watching a podcast by Sarah Silverman. Do you ever see her show?
Yeah,
it's really good. It's really good. But she said it so plainly and perfectly. She was like, what the fuck do you care what someone else does? Why do you care? And if you do, gotta ask yourself why it's bothering you so much. That's the truth. Like, why do I care what someone else wants to do as long as it's not hurting someone?
I mean, obviously, I'm having so much fun. I don't want this to end. But before we wrap it up, I do want to just give you one opportunity. If you were to say anything, to anyone who's aspiring to accomplish the things that you've accomplished, if you had any words of advice or guidance that you'd like to give them, I'd like to I give you that moment now.
Oh, wow. That's heavy.
And I'm like, so we're going to wrap this up real quick, and then I give you this date.
Right? Super easy.
Super easy, right?
Let's see. I would say, obviously, like, don't give up, believe in yourself.
The laundry
all those
list
things.
of what we always say.
Yeah, it's super true. It's super true. Like we were saying about the song, if you don't believe it, no one else is going to believe it, right? So, believe it.
I love it.
Because, like, if you can think of it in your head, if the idea is there, even if you're maybe thinking in kind of a negative way, like if you're going like, God, no one sees the blah, blah, blah in me, right? No one sees that I can do this. No one thinks I have a good voice. No one thinks I do, whatever. If you're having that thought, that means you at some level think that you do, or that the world is not being fair considering the talent you have.
Yeah.
Right? Or the drive you have, or the hard work, whatever. So hold on to that part, the part that you believe in, nourish that, water it, feed it, give it the attention it needs to grow and to be seen.
I love it.
I
love that. Say. That's perfect. Well, listen, I am just so grateful for your time, and I had the best time catching up with you. It's been a while since we've even seen each other, so this has been really, really lovely, and I'm very, very grateful for your time. And thank you for everything you do for our artistic community, for the LGBTQ plus community. I really appreciate you as an artist and as a person, so thank you.
Thank you so much. I know we spent a lot of time talking about me, but I look forward to maybe having lunch or doing something soon where I can talk more about you and we can catch up as friends, because what you're doing here for so many people such as myself is really appreciated. We need more people like you doing this kind of stuff.
Thank you very much.
So thank you.
And yes, absolutely. Next time you're in Vegas, we are hanging out, or maybe I can come to Santa Barbara because I haven't been there in a while, and we can drink
anytime.
Wine and
I
be
love
fabulous.
showing people Santa Barbara.
I love it. So if you like what you heard, show us some love and hit that subscribe button. Check out our website at www.heygirlpodcast.com. Girl is spelled with a U. We've got merchandise, musical playlists, cocktail recipes, and you can listen to all the episodes there as well. Timo, check out Timo Nunez. I'm going to tag you in the description of the episode, so if anyone's interested in checking out more about you and your music, trust me, you won't be disappointed. Thank you so much. Have a good one.